Thanks so much. Yeah, really quickly, I love the presentation. Dense, fast, exactly the kind of stuff I like thinking. You're an artist, you're a researcher, curious to know how you identify. And when people try to put you in a box, so the Uncanny Valley for the Alpha Garden looks like what? You've thought about the Uncanny Valley a lot. You've thought about this robot that's doing gardening, and in between, there's something that makes people feel uncomfortable. And what does that look like? What is that tension from the art side?
Okay, so Uncanny Valley and the garden, Jillian, and then Sarah.
Hey, Ken. So I was thinking about the Uncanny Valley, which is often presented as, we're just uncomfortable with the idea a machine might be so close to being human. But if we think about the fact that as humans, we are so sensitive to every subtle signal about the people we interact, that I actually think that those, the human looking robot, the other Ishiguro picture you put up there, is that actually evidence that we are responding to that as a human, but as a human who is behaving very strangely in the same way as somebody, walked into the room, just behaving oddly. We pick that up right away. So I think that's an indication of how close we are to human interaction there.
Thanks, Jillian. And then the last comment and question on Uncanny Valley is from Sarah.
Yeah, hi Ken, so great to see you again. And it's funny because I was just mentioning your work way earlier on today, but I was commenting on the Uncanny Valley in terms of how, in fact, it sort of feels anime as an art form because it pushes that discomfort. But my question was a little bit different. It was really about, you're working with physical interaction, but even in that context, we're very aware of bias right now in the personas that we're using to imagine robots. And how do you work with your sense of how you build a persona, even to think about what machine grasps what? Who is that identity? And how do you manage to continue to address bias in your work? Even models of emotion are biased to Western models, or the sense of what's uncanny may be culturally mediated. So it's kind of a big question, but I'd love to hear from you on that.
All right, I absolutely love this group. I mean, you guys are asking great questions. All right, Corey, Alpha Garden and the Uncanny, it is a great point because really I like to think of the Uncanny as broader than just the visual Uncanny, that it's an experiential Uncanny, that you see something that may not be human-like, but in some way triggers some discomfort because it's familiar but yet unfamiliar. And I want to push that boundary exactly as Sarah pointed out. As an artist, I'm really interested in triggering that emotion because it's very interesting, raises questions and creates some kind of attraction for viewers. And many artists have been using it. I think that in the context of the anime, and it is very. Well, here's an example, by the way, of a non-visual Uncanny, which is around voice. When we hear sometimes Siri or Alexa, the voice will do something and will be like, it's a little bit too friendly, a little bit too familiar. And the film Her was a fascinating treatment and exploration of that particular kind of uncanniness. So coming back to the topic of where we're here about what does it mean to be human, I think this is really at the core is how do we pay attention to what the subtle clues about something being lifelike versus alive. That is very, very nuanced. And you're right, we have instinctively evolved very, very great acuity for those questions. And Sarah, it's great to see you. And you're asking absolutely a very, very subtle and brilliant point. It's also, I think, very relevant today because of the heightening of awareness around inequality and diversity, which I think is long overdue. And it is very relevant to my mind because I think as we think about robots is a category of othering that relates to exoticism more broadly. And I think about Orientalism in the context. By the way, and I think Orientalism is relevant to the book, and hopefully we'll talk about it, which has to do with how we think about robots. Why was the mechanical Turk a Turk? And so I think it's relevant to examine our own biases, our own attitudes toward what we consider to be familiar and versus foreign. and other. And this has to do with all the anxiety about immigrants and immigration and culture and race and gender. And these are very pressing issues of our time. And I think I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think that intersects very directly with the topic that we're here for. Thank you.